Good evening tonight from Tampa, Florida, and their Waterside Arena here. NHL All-Star Weekend, the first night. It's been 75 degrees and sunny, much warmer than in Seattle. And here, NHL leaders are shedding light on what it's going to take to bring a franchise to the Emerald City. On the ground in Tampa, a Seattleite can't help but find warmth. Pirate gear.
Hi, mateys! Gasparilla 2018!
You having fun?
Of course, thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend.
And just a shade of irony. This road to a new Seattle arena, a new team, in a way, came through this city.
This is probably more complicated than building an arena in Seattle.
Former Hawks CEO Todd Leiweke once ran Tampa's hockey team.
So I'd say the NHL could absolutely work in Seattle.
His brother is now leading the charge in Seattle. And all those cranes, the high rises, the new School of Medicine, funded in large part by Bill Gates' private Kirkland-based Cascade Investment Group. Yes, that Bill Gates, who calls potential Seattle NHL owner David Bonderman a friend. How are you today?
I'm great, great.
Jeff Vinik is the owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning and teamed with Gates.
By the Super Bowl in the beginning of 2021, we expect to have $2 billion in development done. They see this potential in Tampa, what we see here. Where else do you find 50 acres of surface parking lots surrounding an arena, surrounded by water in a downtown setting? You don't find this very many places.
He also sees potential in Seattle.
I love Seattle. It's probably one of the hottest cities in the country right now. We hope Tampa can get that hot sometime in the not too distant future. Obviously, Todd Leiweke, had a lot to do with the Sounders and the Seahawks back there, and I think it's a great sports city, and I think hockey is going to be fantastic there.
Vinik is on the National Hockey League's top executive committee and has the close ear of League Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Out of adversity comes an opportunity.
A man who has flirted with the city of Seattle for years. But I know you met with the Seattle mayor. How would you characterize that conversation?
It was very pleasant. It was very constructive. The mayor is very, very enthused.
He now looks ready to set a date.
Chris Daniels from King TV in Seattle, so you can probably guess what question is coming. So what is the timeline going forward?
The good people in Seattle who are in pursuit potentially of an expansion franchise have told us that they are working on the expansion application and they anticipate being ready to file it in the not too distant future.
And based on our multiple conversations while here in Tampa, it appears that the NHL to Seattle talk could accelerate in a hurry. Just ask any of the league's all-stars like Sidney Crosby.
I have heard great things about the city, and see the way that I watch football. I see the way they support their team there. So hopefully it'd be the same for hockey.
I like driving over the pass to come to the Seattle area.
Carey Price of the Montreal Canadiens was born in BC and played for years in Washington State with the Tri-City Americans.
It's got a lot of potential. The following they have with the Seahawks is something special. It's a great sports community. I've been able to spend some time in Seattle.
Woo! But any decision will ultimately come down to owners and league governors like Kerry Boobles.
It all starts with that initial ticket drive, and I think Seattle's poised.
Oh, yeah. Vegas, baby!
He's the team president of the NHL's first-year Vegas Golden Knights. Boobles says ticket sales and a commitment to building new ice rinks have helped strengthen the expansion franchise and served as a model for Seattle.
We got to build the game.
All right, here we go.
And we made a $30 million investment to put 2 sheets of ice in our market. That's the beginning phase.
Boobles also believes the Emerald City is poised to be the newest league partner. Yeah! Do you think it's ready for the NHL?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously you're talking about one of the top markets in the country. I think this is the perfect fit now, and I think it's the perfect time.
Go Bulls!
There you go. Penguins!
After all the stops and starts,
He's having the time of his life.
we should know within days, if not weeks,
See you in Seattle.
whether Seattle's hockey ship
All right, see you tomorrow.
will finally set sail. In Tampa, Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
Well, a Seattle-led group could file NHL expansion paperwork this week and start a season ticket drive.
Can you believe that? It would be a big development in a long saga involving Seattle's arena story. We sent King 5's Chris Daniels to Vancouver to find out why NHL executives are so excited about bringing a hockey team here.
I think Seattle's just that perfect amount of distance.
Our fans love to travel.
It'd be good to have a rivalry that close.
It is an unusual position here above the 49th parallel, a professional sports franchise welcoming some neighborly competition.
I think it'd be exciting for our fans to have I guess, an interstate rivalry, if you will. So we'd be very excited about it.
Trevor Linden is the president of the Vancouver Canucks, a legendary hockey star whose jersey hangs in the rafters of Rogers Arena. He's bullish on bringing pro hockey to Seattle Center.
The National Hockey League going to a market like Seattle for that Pacific Northwest area, I think would be a catalyst.
I think it's a great idea.
So is Travis Green, the Canucks head coach, who played junior hockey in Seattle, coached in Portland.
I believe that the city of Seattle would be a great spot for an NHL team. I think the NHL would be lucky if we could get a team into Seattle.
So often, pro sports teams have tried to discourage regional competition, whether it be the baseball's Giants blocking the A's from moving in the Bay Area, Toronto and Montreal stopping regional moves in the NHL, or how the NFL handled the Los Angeles market. Not the case here.
This isn't about the Vancouver Canucks so much as it is about the great game of hockey expanding to a great city and you know, just providing us a unique rivalry.
Yet Linden acknowledges the regional impact a new Seattle team likely prompts. A new round of interest. Just ask the young women of the Washington Wild.
With the new NHL team coming to Seattle, that it'll bring in new ranks and new fans, and I think it'll help grow both youth hockey and girls hockey.
The girls under 19 team trains all over Western Washington, but plays on a rink in Bellingham and in a BC-based league.
We would definitely benefit from more ice surfaces.
Why are people in Vancouver fired up about a Seattle hockey team?
It's a great question. I think people here want a rivalry. The teams in their division all have them. The California teams are great for each other.
Blake Price is a longtime resident of British Columbia,
bottom line is
a well-respected voice on TSN 1040 in Vancouver.
That really, wide view of things, just more people interested in hockey, and when tide comes in, all ships rise, sure.
He does have some skepticism about whether the NHL will work long-term in Seattle. A quick glance at the face value ticket prices at the Canucks game last Thursday is a reason why.
It can be a pricey venture, but I mean, I think it's a competitive marketplace in Seattle with all the sports teams that are there already, the university teams as well. I think it's going to be intriguing to see if there's just room to squeeze one more in there.
Three main components, obviously, market, building, and ownership, and I think there's a real good chance that the three of those would be of the highest quality in Seattle, so that's a good start.
Linden, who is a team governor and has a say on the final decision, sure makes it sound.
Key arena and, the plans for that are exciting.
Like Seattle will be ready to hear the organ, and soon.
They're set up for success, I think.
In Vancouver, Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
A lot of activity happening right now on top of the Space Needle here in Seattle, just a few hours after the NHL season ticket drive started this morning. King 5's Chris Daniels live at the Needle, where hockey fever is here. Chris.
Yeah, hi Mark. We are atop the Space Needle. You can see right in front of me film producer Jerry Bruckheimer, the prospective NHL owner, as well as Tim Lywicki with the Oakview Group, who helped put together the deal to rebuild the arena here at Seattle Center, about to raise the flag above the Space Needle here during this noon hour on the day when they started selling season ticket deposits. And oh, by the way, Tim Lywicki says that they sold 10,000 of those in the first 12 minutes, 25,000 within the first hour. And as you can see, the NHL Seattle flag rising now over the Space Needle, Sky King overhead as well. As you see, the red and black, don't read anything into the colors, Tim Lywicki will tell you, going up here to the top of Seattle's icon, the Space Needle, on a big day for the NHL To Seattle efforts. 25,000 season ticket deposits made in the first hour. 12,000 in the first 10 minutes. It's been a big day for this effort after more than a year of negotiations on rebuilding Seattle Center Arena, the Key Arena site. And here we have another big step in this process.
There's been a major step forward tonight in the more than decade-long quest to build a new arena in Seattle. Today, a city council committee unanimously approved final transaction documents to build a $700 million arena at Seattle Center, perhaps paving the way for an NHL team too. And as Chris Daniels reports, it comes after more than a decade of debate.
That we are on a collision course with time.
Has it really been that long?
We did not get involved to lose $60 million. And with no light at the end of the tunnel.
More than 12 years.
The Key Arena model has been available for 4 years.
12 years of talks about where to put a new building.
It's been talked about for several years, but would it be something that would be viable for an NBA arena in the future?
I'm not going to talk about how many angels you can fit upon the head of a pin, because that's just a perpetual subject.
Pull down the mic.
Jana Kaczynski wasn't alive when the debate got started.
I think hockey is really fun. I've been playing hockey for 6 years.
The 11-year-old was front and center today.
I've always wanted to have an NHL team here, and I've always had to go up to Canada a lot.
The council's Committee on Civic Arenas approved final transaction documents for the $700 million privately financed plan to build a 750,000 square foot complex on the Key Arena site. A vote of 7-0 also paves the way for a procedural vote on the 24th. Construction to begin shortly after that.
Well, this has been a long and arduous process.
Seattle Hockey Partners CEO Todd Leiweke.
One by one, and my mantra in the office has been one miracle at a time. And I think after 14 years, perhaps this qualifies as a minor miracle to get to this point.
Leiweke and his investors will use the deal to persuade the NHL in October to award an expansion franchise to the city.
And our case is strengthened because of today. It's strengthened because of local investors, and I can't wait for that day to come.
I did not feel any pressure because I haven't made any promises or guarantees to anybody, in particular NHL. Going on for 18 months.
Councilmember Deborah Juarez says it may be, finally, an end to the tale.
I think it's some sunshine. It's some light at the end of the tunnel.
For Jana,
I love playing it.
It is quite literally the story of her lifetime.
Come on, put the...
In Seattle, Chris Daniels, King 5. Good evening from Times Square in New York, where it has been a monumental day and night for the city of Seattle. The National Hockey League's Executive Committee unanimously recommended the Seattle expansion application, and NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman says it presumably will be approved later on this year, setting the stage for a new team in a new arena at Seattle Center in 2020. It was Broadway theater. NHL owners descending from a meeting with news that would lift spirits in Seattle. Vancouver Canucks owner Francesco Aquilini.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I think it's exciting. I mean, we want a team in Seattle. It's great for Vancouver. It's great for the league. And it's eventually going to happen. I mean, Key Arena is going to be built, so teams, I think it's imminent.
The announcement minutes later.
The recommendation is to proceed with expansion in Seattle.
NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman saying the executive committee, made up of 10 influential owners, is ready to put an expansion hockey franchise in Seattle.
The committee's recommendation is let's do this.
It came after a closed-door, hour-long meeting with the committee down the street, featuring Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin and the Seattle Hockey Partners led by David Bonderman, who want to pay $650 million to put a team in the new arena at Seattle Center.
We're ready for hockey in Seattle.
It apparently went very well.
I think what always carries the day is the 32,000 depositors and the fans who believed in this so early on, and I think that came shining through today.
What we try to get across is that Seattle is ready for a team. We've got the potential facility, which will get built. We had a partnership with the city, and away we go.
I think Mayor Durkin did an excellent job of presenting the case for Seattle as a city and as a base of enthusiasm for NHL hockey.
It was no doubt a brilliant day for Seattle in the bright lights of the big city.
So what you have now is a Seattle mayor and a council that have approved of an arena deal, a league that has approved of a new team, and everybody's saying they think this can all be done by 2020. The last step is the full ownership group for the National Hockey League. 3/4 of them need to approve this expansion application, but it's expected now in December. That's the story for now. In Times Square in New York City, I'm Chris Daniels, King 5 News. Good evening tonight from a wet parking lot, which could be part of a transformational project here at Northgate. Cars could soon be replaced by skaters as part of an ambitious plan laid out today for the first time.
This is the rink that's closest to our training facility. It will seat over 1,000 people.
That's NHL Seattle's Lance Lopes announcing the group's plans for a $70 million privately financed practice facility and team headquarters at Northgate. It includes 3 regulation-sized ice rinks, locker rooms, and team headquarters.
The professional team will be officed here.
Simon Properties, which owns the mall, had already targeted the site for redevelopment and will lease the space on the east side of the sprawling lot.
There are tenants here and leases here, so we've got to take that into consideration. So it's not done yet exactly where it sits. It's mainly the east side of the property where we have most of the surface parking.
Simon's early planning actually speeds up the process with the city, according to Councilmember Rob Johnson.
Northgate Mall is part of a master use permit. They've already gone in with something called early design guidance. It means that they're a couple of steps ahead of what a traditional new development would look like.
It also has the potential to serve as a civic catalyst on the north side of Seattle.
They'll walk to the transit station, and then with our pedestrian bike bridge to connect us with North Seattle College, it's going to be phenomenal. This is what we've been looking for in this kind of density in districts.
A district that could be in for a drastic change if the puck goes Seattle's way. Those designs, along with the $700 million renovation of Key Arena, both hinge on one thing right now, and that is the National Hockey League formally awarding a franchise to Seattle. That is now expected at a meeting in December, and Simon's COO told us today if that happens, he can see demolition beginning here by the middle of 2019. Good evening tonight from Sea Island, Georgia, where the Board of Governors unanimously approved an expansion franchise for Seattle, ending a more than decade-long mission for hockey fans in the Seattle area and for the league itself. Finally,
Seattle, the NHL is thrilled to welcome you.
NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman delivering the news Seattleites have been waiting to hear.
Today is a dream come true, really, for an entire city.
The National Hockey League will expand with a new team to Seattle in 2021 to play in a new arena at Seattle Center, slated to open a year earlier. It is a $1.4 billion privately financed package altogether. Can you talk about the decision to go with 2021 versus 2020?
It was clear that this team wants to start in the absolute best right way, and the certainty over the construction timeline, or the lack of certainty, led us to believe that making the start of the 2021 season would be speculative at best and unlikely at worst.
I love Seattle. I went to school here, as I think you guys know. Graduated from the U. Not recently, I have to admit.
David Bonderman is the lead investor.
What goes around comes around. And Seattle is one of my favorite cities, and it's a pleasure to be here. If it was someplace else, I wouldn't have done it.
His partner, film mogul Jerry Bruckheimer, admits the next step may also be tough.
Hopefully pick a name where we won't get too many people mad at us.
And it didn't seem as if we would ever do it. So I'm so thrilled.
That doesn't matter to Bellevue's Beverly Parsons or Redmond's Jana Kaczynski, who are both on hand today representing the region's past and future. Parsons' uncles helped found the Stanley Cup winning Seattle Metropolitans, and Kaczynski, just 11, is hoping today's news will also be a boost for women's hockey too.
Pretty much anything is possible now.
The announcement today triggers another major milestone tomorrow. Groundbreaking and demolition work will begin on Key Arena for that new arena at Seattle Center, scheduled for 3 o'clock on Wednesday. That's the story for now in Sea Island, Georgia. I'm Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
Good evening. Our top story tonight. Seattle's long-awaited new arena project is officially underway. There was a ceremonial groundbreaking today for the new arena at Seattle Center, where officials also announced a new timeline and new costs.
It all comes a day after the NHL awarded Seattle a new franchise. King 5's Chris Daniels joins us live now with more and why this new timeline could be a bit of good news for the city. Chris.
Yeah, Lori, up until this week, there had been a lot of talk about opening up a new arena here at Seattle Center by 2020 and the fall of 2020. But based on the NHL announcement yesterday, that is not the case. And there could be a silver lining for people who may not even care about hockey. New life. Construction of a new arena is officially underway after more than a decade of discussion.
Thanks for being there all along. I remember the first interview.
Tim Lywicki's Oakview Group can now begin construction on what he says now is an $850 million privately financed building.
When you come to Seattle, what you realize very quickly is there are 65 cranes in the air. It's the #1 construction marketplace in all of North America. That's good news and that's bad news. On the bad news front, you're going to pay a premium, and we are.
Today's groundbreaking with specially embossed hockey stick shovels was triggered by yesterday's announcement the NHL will expand to Seattle in 2021 with a team to be named later.
I heard you'd like to release the Kraken.
I would like to release the Kraken.
Yet the delay in play actually allows OVG to spend more time on the construction.
The reality is we also want to pay some consideration to the neighborhood and not be doing triple shifts. And so I think we'll be careful to make sure that the timing of the building and the construction of the building are done in a fashion that we don't disrupt anyone's lives as much as possible. But I still think that gets us done April, May
of 2021. That should be a bit of good news for the city's transportation leaders too. Right now there is quite literally a barrier between Seattle Center and South Lake Union, but once the viaduct goes away, so too will the Battery Street Tunnel, helping to open up 3 new east-west lanes.
That entire project is going to take about 24 months.
Now, Harrison, Thomas, and John should be opened prior to the new arena's first night, allowing people to park and walk or bike to the center and take pressure off the Mercer mess, which was a problem long before the shovels ever hit the dirt. Remember that those changes to the viaduct and the tunnel begin next month, so those street changes should be done well before the opening of the new arena. And Lywicki said today, based on that new timeline, he expects the WNBA's Seattle Storm to open up the new building and for 60 concerts to occur at the new building here between the opening of the building and when the puck is now expected to drop there later on in the year. That's the story for now. Live at the new arena at Seattle Center site, Chris Daniels, King 5 News.